what was most challenging about this? And what got you most excited about this particular project? Because it was unusual. The first time you told me about this, I was definitely gleeful, and I understand that I am gleeful all the time when I'm told anything about D&D. Apparently, but this was like, this is my jam. Like, this is my thing, and I
Yeah.
am over the moon excited for this adventure.
Well, one of the challenges was for me. I've worked on other projects that have gone to Icewind Dale before, and
Mm-hmm.
so as a creative, I wanted to find something about Icewind Dale that I didn't know or that I could latch onto and say, "This is new, this is fresh, this is not the same old, same old." Um, and also the fear of just making sure that I give something to DMs that they don't feel like they've seen before or run before.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to uh, show Icewind Dale faithfully as it has been depicted before, but also put these themes into it and this atmosphere that it's probably never had to this extent before. That was a challenge for me. The other big challenge for me was I was so full of one of the first things that you think about when you think of Icewind Dale, oh, there's nothing there. It's just like a few towns and then wasteland. There's nothing there. Well, it turns out, if you think long enough about it, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. And one of the other challenges I had was just sifting that down. Like I could have made this adventure 400 words or 400 pages, 500 pages, trying to control myself and not go completely off rails was another. But that I could say that's true for everything I work on.
Yeah, a vast icy wasteland where everyone goes, and who knows what else. Has a
Yeah,
lot of opportunity.
yeah, exactly. And like one of the most fun aspects is just at the very start of the project, just brainstorming places where adventure could happen. Be it some sort of like ramshackle goblin fort up in the mountains, or a jagged canyon with like a glacial rift with monsters hiding out in it. Um, there's all sorts of wonderful locations that came out of those early thoughts and discussions.
It feels very environmentally based too. Like you have this new opportunity, like you're shoving everyone into this very specific environment. And certainly that might have been true a little bit with Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, where you're just in a hellscape. I find snowy environments terrifying. I find ice to be scary. I'm scared what's beneath it. I'm scared what's on top of it. I'm scared of even trying to get to the next town without dying,
Yes.
just
One of
from
my favorite,
exposure.
one of my favorite, I guess it's a horror movie. I guess you'd call it a horror movie. Is Jaws, and there's a nod to Jaws, as there are many modern horror films in this adventure. There are nods to Alien. There are nods to The Shining. There are nods to all sorts of horror movies. But my favorite is there's a Jaws encounter. This isn't spoiling too much. So I'm giving this one to you for free. But there's an encounter where you see the snow basically getting pushed up by a creature that's moving under it toward you. And then you sort of see this like shark-like fin
No.
kind of break the top of the snow, and you realize it's a bullet that's basically
Oh,
running under the snow. That terrifies me, and I loved adding that to the adventure for that reason.
that's a great example of like environment changing the creature,
Yeah,
and how it interacts. And
yeah,
that's scary in a different way. Like I don't know if that creature has been adapted, but the fact that like, okay, well, this creature in this environment is going to behave much differently and appear much scarier.
yeah. And the
Um,
bullet's got a story. There's a story
yeah.
behind where it is, why it's here, how it got here, that kind of thing. But that would, if I were walking through a D&D, snowscape, and the snow started to, get pushed up in a line heading in my direction, like something was burrowing under it toward me, I would just die. That would just, I would just faint over dead away from sheer terror. That, by the way, was actually inspired by at the end of the thing. If you haven't seen the movie, Kurt Russell's character encounters the monster basically in a basement, and as
Mhm.
it's burrowing through the ground, it's flipping all the planks up on the floor
Oh
as it
yeah.
gets closer to him. that's what first prompted me to find a home for this bullet encounter in the story.
Yeah, there's something probably wrong with me because I watch that movie at least twice a year.
Mm.
Um, it never
It's a good movie.
gets.
It holds up. It holds up.
It
Special.
holds up really well. They're all practical effects.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
never get over the head,
Mm-hmm.
and also the brilliance of the writing when the head sprouts legs.
Oh Jesus. Yeah.
One of the characters literally says what the audience is thinking every time. It's the best writing beat.
Have you ever watched John Carpenter's The Thing with the DVD commentary with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell?
I have.
Yeah. When they get to that moment in the movie and both of them are like half drunk on beer, the reaction is priceless. Yeah.
Is there a challenge when you are writing these NPCs as well? Again, you can't go into too much detail, but you do want some of them to be likable. Otherwise, you're just pushing them out the door so that they get eaten to a certain degree. There's got to be like a little bit of fear factor of trying to protect others, maybe. Or maybe that's inherent within the D&D party.
Well, there are, in all adventures, of course, you meet a plethora of NPCs. In Icewind Dale, the NPCs that you're most likely to come in contact with at first are the people of 10 towns. And certainly there are a number of, if not sympathetic, at least relatable NPCs there. I mean, they're obviously hardened by the lifestyle that they're forced to lead and stuff like that. But there are good ones. One of the key things, though, that I wanted to make clear, not only in the writing but also in the art, is that when we see people outside, they're virtually unrecognizable. That is to say, it's so cold and they're so bundled up that you can't tell one from the other. They're basically faceless, and that contributes to paranoia and isolation and secrecy and all those themes. But as for the 10 towners themselves, the 10 towns get a lot of attention in this product, and we do bring a number of NPCs to life. And some of them have interesting perspectives. Like there's one NPC, and different degrees of complexity or development. Some NPCs are more like characters in the background, extras. They get a few lines and you move on and you let the DM flesh them out as you see fit. Others are a little bit more well-rounded to give the DM something to really sink their teeth into. But we have to embrace the fact that some people in 10 towns might be criminals hiding from some past. Others were born and raised here and have a perspective that is completely, isolated. And this is the only world that they know. I think that in order to bring the towns to life, we basically tried to paint a number of different characters. And you'll find that none of them are exactly the same. And all of them, if not all of them, a good many of them do have secrets that could come to light. Now, some of it was, all that work was done for us in earlier products. Like the innkeeper who runs this particular inn in Bryn Shander is the same innkeeper who was featured in an earlier product that we did about Icewind Dale. He's still there, But then there's a bunch of new folks who have also moved in. And there are layers, I think, that we've added to this story that didn't exist in Icewind Dale before. Like, for instance, this idea that because things are so bleak and because people blame a lot of Icewind Dale's current problems on Auriel the Frostmaiden, some towns have taken to making sacrifices to her in order to try to appease her so that she stops this, brings an end to this horrible, cold darkness. And some of the towns are more extreme than others, going now at the point of desperation where they're offering basically sacrifices. And how do you, as a culture, rationalize that? That kind of thing is interesting to explore. The kind of the decay, of social norms
Exactly.
brought on to desperation.
When
Otherwise good people start to behave badly.
When does the psyche become so desperate for a solution that it turns to
Yes,
essentially this insanity or bargaining with something too dark for them to
it's
understand?
the choice between me versus them. Will it always be them? That kind of thing. Those things are great fodder for stories, narrative, and also just player discussion.
Any story like that, like The Mist, for example, when people start, religiousizing what's happening to try to explain, and turn on each other and start like sacrificing each other. Another movie I saw called The Ritual reminded me of that same kind of thing. This old Norway. I mean, it's all the same kind of fear. It's like you go into a community and you are not safe in that community.
Yes. Yeah.
Pre-order Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden now on D&D Beyond, and get exclusive pre-order rewards, including digital dice.